Welcome and thank you for listening to the Sales Maven Show. I'm your host, Nikki Rausch, your own personal sales maven, here to offer you tips and strategies and techniques to master your sales conversation. Today is one of the Mastering Excellence series episodes. This comes from my background in neurolinguistic programming, where we learn that there is a structure to excellence. And when you can understand how somebody who's achieving exceptional results in some area of their life or business, what their structure is, you can apply that same structure to your own life and or business so that you can start to see exceptional results for yourself. And I'm very excited about today's guest. My guest today is Danielle Hayden. Is somebody who I've known for years. She has been a client. She is brilliant. She is a podcaster. She runs a very successful business, and I'm going to let her tell you about that. And I'm just so delighted for her to be here. And we're going to dig into something today that I think most people kind of want to run away from. And in business, it makes a big difference. We're going to talk about using your numbers to get what you want. Doesn't that sound good? All right, Danielle, welcome to the show, friend.
Thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate it.
I'm so excited that you're here. Tell everybody a little bit about you and your business and what you do.
CEO of Kickstart Accounting Inc. We help business owners understand their numbers to make better business decisions, ultimately grow our businesses, step into our power as CEOs. We do that through bookkeeping and tax work. But our mission is to be the partner to our clients to help them feel confident and empowered in their numbers. So I'm excited to talk about how we can use our numbers to get what we want out of our lives.
This is something that I think from the outside and having known you for years and really having the ultimate pleasure of getting to work with you, you reminded me earlier today, and I hadn't thought about it in a while, that we actually got to do your VIP day in person. And it's been years since I've done VIP days in person with people.
I flew all the way to Seattle
I
to be
know
with
you
you.
did. I'm so honored. I'm so honored. And and to see how you have grown, and you didn't have a podcast then, you didn't have your planners then, you didn't, like, so many things that you have gone on and just grown. Your business has grown, your team, just everything. You're such a superstar. And I'm just so happy to know you.
Thank you.
All right, so let's dig into this topic around numbers and using them to get what you want. Share a little bit, because I know you have a story of kind of like when this became kind of, I know you sometimes refer to it as like numbers can kind of be like a game, and when this kind of came about for you. Will you share a little bit before we get into the questions?
Yeah, like everything in entrepreneurship, it's a roller coaster ride. um Before I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I thought I was going to get there very differently. I actually was a hairdresser. I loved being a hairdresser, and I had a knack at the time for using numbers to reach my goals at the salon. So I was a top tier stylist at the time, and I would help the other girls in the salon understand their paycheck, understand how to read the numbers, and how to use the financial information to set goals so that they could also hit their goals personally, and that we together could hit our goals as a salon. So I thought that I was going to be a an owner of a salon and spa. Like that was the dream. Went to school for business and accounting, and realized working in corporate that what I loved was using numbers to help make business decisions. And that's what I did in corporate. I worked my way from accountant to CFO, helping the management team, the private equity investors, the CEO use our numbers to make strategic business decisions to grow our business. So very similar strategies of using money, using numbers as a game. And now we do that at Kickstart. We have the privilege of helping small business owners. So using everything that I learned in corporate and as a creative stylist, bringing all of that information and strategies to help business owners use their numbers as a game, as a
Mhm.
tool, as a strategy, not a report card, but as a strategy to live the life that we want to live and the business that we want to lead.
I love that so much. And I know we talked recently on your podcast too, just about some of my numbers and some of the things that I track in my business. And you were using these terms like leading indicators, lagging indicators, um, and this idea of how you can work in somebody's business and help them look at like what was going on at this period of time for you, like based on the numbers, like what was happening in the business. And I feel like you take it, like you use the numbers, but you almost like look at them in a little bit of a different way. It's not just the number and that's it. Like it's almost like you're taking this big step back and
Oh,
like the
big
bird's eye
step.
view. Yeah.
That I love that you just said that. It's a big step back because
Mm-hmm.
it's our responsibility, all of us as business owners. It's your responsibility, it's my responsibility to be the CEO of the business. And that does not mean doing your own bookkeeping. That does
Mm-mm.
not mean looking at every single dollar coming in or every single dollar coming out. It means taking that high level bird's eye view of your numbers. And so we send every single one of our clients what we call the snapshot. And it's our way of doing the analysis for clients. And it's part of our framework that we deliver every single month. And that still even feels overwhelming. If I tell you you're gonna get a PDF overview, it's gonna be a high level overview of all your numbers. Like, oh my God, there's still so many numbers. So we theme that. And so every month we're just looking at one specific area of our numbers because as a CEO, you have so much to do in your
Mm-hmm.
zone of, and I want you to operate in your zone of genius. And we are operating in our zone of genius, which means doing the analysis for you so that you can own your role as CEO and see the numbers and say, all right, what's working, what's not working, what do I need to do more of, and
Mm-hmm.
how can I lead and grow this business?
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that you're giving your clients that kind of a snapshot. There's something about, I think, having someone in your business, even if, like you said, like you don't have to do the bookkeeping. I remember years ago having a coach who was asking me a lot of questions around my numbers. And I was like, oh, I don't know that. I'm not sure about that. And she's like, why don't you know this? And I was like, because I hate this part, right? Like money. You want to talk money with me? I get super excited. You want to talk numbers with me? I go like, oh my gosh, that feels like math. And she was like, why do you think you have to do this? Like, this is something you hire somebody for. And I was like, oh, it was like this huge light bulb moment. Like, oh yeah, and I've been working with this person ever since. And I consider her a strategic partner in my business. And it just sounds like for at Kickstart, like that's another piece of what you're offering to your clients. There is something about having somebody who understands the numbers, looks at them in that way, and can be that strategic partner with you from that bird's eye view, that snapshot that you're talking about. Like, oh, priceless.
It's a money team, and we need to
Yeah.
have team members. We're not meant to do this human journey alone. We're
Mhm.
supposed to do it connected.
Yeah.
And, like think about how lonely entrepreneurship is.
Can be.
Really can be like, I called my mom. This was years ago, and I was so excited to tell her about these revenue milestones. And she responds back, "So I guess you're buying dinner this weekend, huh?" And I was like, "Oh, she doesn't get it."
Mm-mm.
And I think it's important that we have a money team who can celebrate our wins, be there for us when things aren't going well, ask those coaching questions, not solve all our business problems. We're not sales consultants. We're not marketing consultants. We can't coach our clients on everything, but we can ask coaching questions that they have the information in front of them to be
Mhm.
able to say, all right, what do I do with this information, and how do I apply it in a way that feels really meaningful?
Yeah, yeah, I love that. All right, so we're gonna jump into these very NLP questions around how to use numbers to get what you want. So my first question is always if I got to stand in for you for a day, lucky me, and I wanted
Like,
to
good
think
luck.
like you. I wanted to think like you and I wanted to act like you. What is something I would have to do or think when I'm approaching this idea of using numbers to get what I want, like what comes to mind when I ask that? Like I'm stepping in, I'm being you. How am I thinking? What am I doing?
Simplify.
Mm,
Um, I want to go, my team wants to go deep. They want to get detailed. They love debits and credits and bookkeeping and reconciliate. Like they love that stuff. And my job is to help my team and my clients to simplify, to say, hold on, um, how do we not make this so complicated? What is this number simply telling us? Not a pass or fail, not anything other than what does this number tell us? And then how can we, with curiosity, determine, like I have control, could determine how we're going to apply this meaning into our business. So I think that's a lot of my job is to simplify for my team and simplify for my clients
mm-hmm.
so that we can be a guide.
I love that. Okay. So when you think about using numbers to get what you want, what are your goals?
What are my personal goals or
Yeah.
what is the goal
Yeah.
of that activity?
Think about you. Like let's do this from your perspective. So
Okay.
it's very Danielle, like we're really being you right now. What are the goals when you think about I'm going to use these numbers to get what I want?
I'll use a very personal example. My son is 16 and my daughter just left for college. This will be her second year. And with your second child, you get to learn a lot from the first one. So the second one really gets the benefit of that first child learning. And I realized that I want to be home and I don't want to travel. I um, I want to be here and I wanted to be the one to teach him to drive. I want to be the one to teach him to cook. I want to be the one to make sure he does his laundry in the weekend. He knows how to clean his room, right? Like I am preparing this dude to be a really great husband one day. And that's my job.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes. I'm trying, ladies. Um, I say all that because when I look at the numbers, I am determining, like from a sales perspective,
Mm-hmm.
where does my time and energy, me personally, where does that need to be spent? And there was a while there where my time was being spent traveling, speaking, being at conferences, and being out in the community. And that's ego driven now
Mm-hmm.
and not where I want to be. So when we look at the numbers, we actually realize that most of our referrals or most of our business is coming from referrals, client referrals, and podcasts. You know what I can do from these 4 blue walls in my office is podcasting,
Mm-hmm.
where I can be here to do all of those things for my son. And so I am using the numbers, the data to guide my decision and my goals so I can create the life that I want to live. And that's going to change here in a few years. But right today, right now, that's how I'm using those numbers.
So from a structure standpoint, just for the listener, what you commented on here is like the first step is figuring out like what do you want? Like what's most important? And then figuring out what actually needs to be done in order for you to get what you want. What are those numbers? And then of those, what do you have control over that still support the what do you want? So when you like with your case, right? It's the I want to be home. And what drives the needle? Referrals, podcasting. What can I do? Podcasting. Like talk about simplifying. I love the way you just broke that down from a very simple way through a story. So beautiful. Um, yeah. So did I miss anything or did I get it?
You nailed it. And
Okay.
I just want to say I purposely didn't talk about revenue or growth because I
Mm-hmm.
think that's easily where we all grow. Because
Mm-hmm.
to be clear, we're still growing in our mission. but we're doing it in a way that aligns with the life that we want to have. So we need both and a budget with revenue goals and all those, and what numbers are going to get us to do both.
Yeah. I think it's really it's those things that like what drives the needle, what moves the needle, and what do you have control over, and then do that. But you have to know what it is that you want, because otherwise you're just doing for the sake of doing. And like you mentioned here, and I know we talked about this on your podcast too, is this idea of like how ego can sometimes get in the way. Like, oh, well, I have to be the face, or I have to be the one who's out speaking at conferences. I have to be this and I have to be, but it's like, but what do you really want? Well, I want to be home with my son and I want to have this opportunity to teach him these things and like that. And so then, okay, so what supports that? And of course, yes, revenue, bottom line, expenses, all those things matter in the business and need to be paid attention to. Um, but if you don't know what you want, I always say the Lewis Carroll quote, if you don't know what you want, any road will get you there. Like that's not a good place to be. So, okay. All right. I love this. All right. How do you know you're achieving your goals when you're using the numbers to get what you want? What's your evidence? What lets you know that?
Well, here's the beautiful part about numbers is it's black and white, right? And it's interesting when I originally, when I got my first job in accounting, I remember saying two things. Wow, it's really quiet in this office. And at that moment, I really needed to stop talking because I was always talking. And I was like, oh, it's really quiet in here. This feels good. But I also said, this feels really black and white. It's not so subjective here. And that's changed for me now. I do see the subjectivity of numbers, but when you build a budget, so one of the things that we do with clients, especially our CFO level clients, is to build a budget. And then every month when we send them their snapshot, they receive the numbers compared to their budget. And it's a really powerful tool to see how did I measure up to where I thought I was going to be. At Kickstart, we do practice a reforecasting structure. So in July, June, July, we will reforecast the year for both ourselves and for our clients. And that way we are comparing to more current data. But using numbers gives me this incredible tool that's data driven. One thing our clients, they'll come on, we do financial review calls with our clients, and clients will come on and they'll say, I don't feel like I'm doing really well right now. Like things just, they feel really slow. Like I'm not sure what's going on this year. Look at their numbers. We're like, well, it's been a 20% growth from last year. So from our perspective, you're doing great. Like we're killing it this year. Maybe you adapted to the chaos of, bringing in $500,000 a year in sales. So your nervous system is up here now. And we can continue. So data tells us if we're in the right direction and can tell us if our intuition is really leading us to the right place, or is that just fear, visionary boredom, or those other symptoms?
Mm-hmm. I think that is really powerful. Again, what you're saying here, this idea of like intuition is great. And as somebody who is, I think I'm pretty intuitive and I'm not always right. And so having some way, some kind of a benchmark to check in and going like, okay, so what does this like, is this right? Or should I be thinking about something else, doing something else? So being able to, I love that you also talked about this idea of reforecasting and being able to check in with people. I know I have to do this with clients sometimes is they'll have these great big um, ideas about like what they should do, what should happen. It's always the shoulds, right?
Yes.
And
Shut
then,
all over yourself.
yeah, should all over themselves. And then when I dig in and start asking about numbers, I'm digging into things like, okay, so how many people are on your email list? What's your open rate? Like when you send a message, what's the click through rate? Like how many people are we actually talking about here, because they're like, well, I want this many people in this group you know, coaching program. And I'm like, yeah, but the numbers, when you look at the numbers, like I get that that's what other people are telling you, like you should do, but the numbers don't really indicate that that's very realistic. And so, is this really what you want to do? And if so, great, let's figure it out. But let's, there needs to be some stuff that has to happen first, right? For you to like, I'm going to fill a group program. I'm going to have, 500 people in a membership. And it's like, you have 130 people on your email list. It's going to be hard to fill a program with
It's the
500
power of looking backwards to look
members.
forward.
Yeah.
Bookkeeping isn't very sexy. So,
Mhm.
when I tell people we use bookkeeping to know your numbers, not that bookkeeping is sexy, but we have to have that tool
Mm-hmm.
to look backwards accurately in order to look forward.
Mm-hmm.
So when a client comes to us and say, I just want to build a budget, I'm going to do $500,000 next year. I'm going to finally hit $1 million. If they only did $100,000 last year, we can build a more accurate projection so that when we project out our spending, when we plan on Facebook ads, group coaching programs, paying ourselves, paying our team, we're actually making a spending plan on real data, on real goals
Mm-hmm.
that align with where we just were. So it's
Yeah.
again just the power of using our numbers to get what we want. If we want to hit $500,000, I'm so excited to help get us there. But let's use the numbers to get what we want.
Yeah. I love that you said that too, of like you really do need to understand certain numbers in your business. I know for me, again, I know you and I just had a conversation about this not too long ago, but um like I really want to know where the business is coming from, like what's driving the person who comes in as a new buyer. I also want to know what offers are bringing in the majority of my business so I know what to focus on. And a lot of times when I'm talking this type of stuff with clients about, okay, so what percentage of your business comes from this offer? And they're like, I have no idea. It's like, well, okay, so should we really even be spending time talking about this offer? Because if you go back and look at these numbers and then they come back to me and they're like, well, it generated 5% of my business last year. It's like, that's probably not the offer that we should really be working on. We should be working on the offer that generated 70% or 30% of your business last year. Let's figure out how to grow that offer, right? But you have to have those numbers to really figure out where to spend your time, energy, and money. Yeah. Okay. So if you feel like, all right, I've paid attention to the numbers, they're not really giving me the information that I want, like my intuition and my numbers aren't matching up. What do you do then?
Get curious.
Mm-hmm.
We have this report card effect, and I noticed it for myself first. And then once I made this concept, I've watched clients do it. Um, my mom used to ground me when I didn't get good grades. And all of my report cards would say, talking too much. And then she'd ground me for talking too much. I love when she sees my reels now and she likes every single one of them. And I'm like, still talking too much, Mom. But so we get these report cards growing up once a quarter, tell us if we passed, failed, if we get to continue on. Literally, we can be held back and told you don't get to continue on with the rest of your peers because you failed. That is tough trauma as a kid to go through.
Yeah.
Okay. We take all of our money stories with us. My friend's dad's business owned a restaurant growing up, failed, went out of business. The way that my parents spoke about them and other small business owners, the way my teachers spoke, right? I am taking all of their money stories, and unfortunately, I don't get to check it out at the door, right? So I walk into these four walls, I don't get to check out all my money stories and come into being an entrepreneur. I get the privilege of taking all that baggage with me
Mm-hmm.
And so when I get the numbers and they don't align with where I wanted to go, where I thought they should be, we didn't hit the sales goal, team members not working out, I hired too many people and we lost money this month. These are all real stories, you
Mm-hmm.
guys. So all real things that have happened. I could say, you're a failure. You're not allowed to continue. You have to go back to working for somebody else. You're not good enough. You're grounded. I could apply all those stories to it. And so I've had to do a lot of work for myself to say that I can get curious.
Mm.
I can use my profit and loss to say, okay, if if I lost money this month, literally the income statement was at a loss, I get to go back up the income statement to say, where did I spend money? And what was my return on investment of each of those spending dollars? And I get to choose, right? It's a choice. As a CEO, I have the choice of whether or not I'm going to continue with that investment or I'm going to stop that investment. I'm going to stop spending in that area. And that's the way that I can see if my data is lining up to my intuition, and then I can choose what I'm going to continue or let go of rather than just saying you passed or failed.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that feels like so much freedom when you start to think about it in that way. I think it's so easy for us to want to label ourselves like a failure or a success. But when you take yourself and take a step back and say, actually, this is just information so that I can make a choice. I actually had a I interviewed somebody on the podcast and she said something to me around like, is this idea we were talking about choosing. And she's like, this idea is that you make a choice knowing that once you make that choice, you can always then make another choice. And that felt like such freedom. And I feel like what you're saying here too is a reminder of that, in that it isn't about labeling success, a failure, like, oh, I should quit or I don't deserve this or any. It's like, okay, this information allows for me to then make a choice. And then based on that choice, I can then make another choice. So, like, all right, so I've been spending my money on XYZ. It's not really giving me a return. So I can make the choice to either stop spending money there or take that money and apply it somewhere else and then decide, how did that work? And then I'll make another choice, right? So I love that. I love that you're bringing up this idea of around like it's more about making a choice than giving yourself this report card. I love that
And you can
idea.
approach it with curiosity.
Mm,
Be
which that's
curious,
one of my
curious
favorite
about the
words.
numbers, curious what it
Yep.
told you, and curious about what your choices are.
Mm-hmm. And getting curious about like, does this move the needle? Does it not move the needle? Um, are there ways to do this like that maybe would save me money? Like, is there another way to continue to do this where I can reduce the expenses so that I can still do it, but just do it in a way that maybe fits in with what's going on with my numbers right now, what's going on with my sales right now. I know I had to I've been making some choices around things around expenses in particular. And I can look back now and go, you know, it wasn't fun to have to look at some of these things, but being able to look at them allows a different kind of freedom now when I start to see like what are the numbers that are coming in, what are the expenses that before these expenses were like sometimes 5x what I'm now spending, and I'm still doing what I was doing. Maybe I tweaked it a little bit, but like that feels like freedom. Like, oh, I'm not spending 5 times what I was spending, and I'm still able to accomplish the thing that I need to accomplish in my business. I love that.
Or maybe
Mm-hmm.
we spend more.
Yeah.
Both, and we all have different spending personalities,
Yep.
and our keepers of the world have a very difficult time spending money.
Mm.
And so a lot of those clients will get on calls and, ears all shrugged up, and they'll say, all right, just tell me where I have to cut back. And it's not always about cutting back
Mm-hmm.
in business. We we look at healthy percentages, healthy spending and
Mhm.
benchmarking with our clients. And one area is if we're not, if I told you, like my goal, I need hockey stick growth in my revenue. Like that's
Mhm.
what I want above everything else. Then I'm in growth mode. And in growth mode, I need to be spending about 15% of my sales in advertising and marketing. And
Mhm.
so if you tell me your goal is growth, then I should be able to go to your P&L, profit and loss statement, and your spending aligns with that goal. If you tell me I'm really more in like stability mode, it's
Mhm.
more important for me to pay myself right now. I need to bring home a personal income. I want to support my family. I want to take them on this vacation. I'm saving for general wealth. We're going to buy some real estate this year. I should see in your spending a reduction in other areas, so that we can pay you more. But we can't do everything. We can't be in growth mode and optimization and stability. We can't be in all four seasons at one time. We have to choose one season. And then in our season, we can match our spending to that season. And that's another way that we can use data to help us with these decisions. It's literally how I personally apply this, is to say, okay, what season of business am I in right now? It's really hard to be in high growth season. I mean, I'm 10 years in business, so it's hard to be in high growth season on the 11th year. So, are we moving more into a optimization season where I know that I can pay myself stable, I can
Mhm.
pay my team with stability, and we have stability across the business. And so I need
Mhm.
to change the way that I'm spending during each of those seasons.
Wow. Thank you so much for bringing that into the conversation as well. This is another thing. I often have client conversations and they're like, I want to grow, grow, grow. I want all these new clients. Like, okay, so what are you doing to market yourself? And they're like, nothing. Okay, that's a mismatch, right? Like,
Right.
there should be some spending going on here if you're just trying to bring in like new prospective buyers or build your email list or whatever. Like, there, you, it just doesn't happen. Like, they have to align. So I love that we're having this conversation. Okay, is there anything we haven't talked about numbers wise that we need to address, that you're like, well, I want to make sure I say this before we wrap up this part of the conversation?
Um, I no longer tie my self-worth to the financial results of my business.
Mm.
And my hope is, as business owners, that we can treat our business as a business, right? Like I purposely named Kickstart Accounting Inc. and not Danielle Hayden Inc.
Mm.
because I wanted Kickstart to live as its own entity that might rise, it might fall, it might have seasons of growth, it might have seasons of decline.
Mhm.
Um, but I am not declining when my business is declining. I am not stalling when my business stalls. I am still here. I am still growing. I can still be a great CEO in every season of my business.
Mm. Oh, that feels like a mic drop. Thank you for bringing that into the conversation. I think that is so important. One of the hardest lessons I ever learned in sales was how tied my self worth was to the company that I was working for and like the prestige of what it was that I was doing. And when it got taken away, it took me about a year to like find my like footing again. And I thought I never ever want to do that again or let my self-worth be so tied to something that is in a lot of ways was outside of my control. So like, oh, I love that you brought that in. And I think with our businesses, it can be hard not to just see it as like it's all over me, right? Like it's my win, it's my loss, it's my, success, my failure, that self-worth piece, and that you have achieved that. For you, the listener, if that's something you haven't quite got yet, like if you take away anything from this conversation, like figure out how to differentiate your self-worth from the success or failure of your business. And it'll just put you in a much healthier mindset. So thank you for bringing that in. All right. I always like to ask some questions about you as we wrap up. So one of the things I love to ask is, what's something that's bringing you joy right now?
Seeing my team succeed and have wins and work together. I have a team of almost 35 women now who we have this client wins chat, and I'm actually watching it blow up as we're talking on Teams. And they are talking about all the wins of our clients, and they get so excited to pour into our clients. And I've seen such incredible growth across that team, and I'm forever grateful that I get to do this journey with them, and it's bringing me a lot of joy to watch them grow and
I
succeed.
love that. I love that. That's amazing. Congrats. Uh, there's just nothing like a great team.
Mhm. Yes.
What's something people would be surprised to learn about you?
I'm actually in, I think I'm an introvert.
Mm,
Um, I really get energy from being alone and in
mhm.
the quiet. My poor husband has a very different job than I do, so he is not talking all day, but knows that I do. And at the end of the day, I just want the house very, very quiet, and I want to be alone on the weekends. I find what's giving me a lot of energy is that quiet time, and when I can have a weekend or some time like that, I've really come back to work with a lot of creative energy
Mm.
and a lot to say to my team and my clients and on the podcast. And um, but I talk all day, so people I
Yeah.
think would be very surprised to hear
Yeah.
that.
That's fun that you shared that. What's something exciting going on in the business right now?
um, we have launched over the last few years. So we were primarily bookkeeping only. And that was a very intentional decision. I want to teach business owners how to use their numbers to manage their business. And that was through bookkeeping. Over the last few years, we have added on CFO services and tax services and built out a very unique framework for those services. And I just get really excited to disrupt the industry. So, accounting is a very old industry with some old practices. And every time someone complains about CPAs, I reassure them that I am doing my part to shake up the industry as much as I possibly can.
I love that. I love that. Okay. And how can listeners connect with you? What's the best way?
Kickstartaccountinginc.com. Our website is the best place. We have our podcast, Business by the Books, tuning in every week for how to use numbers to make business decisions. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. It's so fun to get to be the outsider watching you just freaking soar. You're such a superstar. I really appreciate you sharing your insight. And yeah, so just thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yeah. All right. And for you, the listener, thanks for being here. I hope you got some good takeaways. And there's nothing better than hearing what was your takeaway. Please reach out to me or Danielle and let us know what was your big takeaway from today's episode. And as always, I'm wishing you continued success. Take care.